Hey, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. If you are new, my name is Autumn, and I make homeschool, family, travel type videos on my channel. So if you are not yet subscribed, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. In today's video, I am going to talk about term 6 in our homeschool. We had 6 terms in our homeschool. We did 6 weeks on and then 1 week off. So the 6th term was the final term for our homeschool year. I will do a full video recapping our school year, giving you my thoughts on all the curriculum we used, any changes we made, all of that kind of stuff. This video is just going to be specifically about term 6 and the end of our school year. I will start things off with my kindergartner, and then I will move on to my 2nd grader. I homeschool in Pennsylvania, so my kindergartner didn't really have to do anything this school year. Next year is when we file with the district and all of those kinds of things. But this year was really good to just get a rhythm for teaching both of my girls and for my youngest to really understand what school was going to be about. For language arts, we've been using Pinwheels year 1, and we did not finish it for this term, which I don't care about. That is completely fine. There are actually 2 parts to Pinwheels year 1, and my goal is just for us to get it finished before next year. So just to finish the first part of it before next year, I have no problem with us continuing with year 1 for her official kindergarten year. So some of the things she was learning about in term 6 were the suffix s, as well as the words as and is, and how you hear more of that z sound from the s for those types of words. Pinwheels doesn't really dump all of the letter sounds at once, but they do go a little bit into how some letters do make more than one sound. She also continued with her copy work as well as her reading, because there are little readers that go along with the phonics skills that she is learning. And speaking of little readers, she also got through Fan and Sam, which is the first book in Dash into Learning. So she has been reading that book just over and over, basically. I haven't had her move into the next one yet because she does still get tripped up with some of the words, and I would like her fluency to be a little bit better before we move on. I do really think that her blending is improving though, and that's just really exciting to see because she's really gaining that confidence, and she is so excited to read to us. For math, Emmy has been doing the kindergarten level of Zern, and she has absolutely loved it. I shared recently that we have been adding in our Love Every math skill set into everything, and it has just made everything so much more fun because we have all these different games and activities now to add in. But Zern has these little printouts when they finish a mission. The missions are basically a unit. And so I've allowed the girls to hang up the little certificate at the end of each mission. I've just printed them really small so that we can put them up on our wall. So she was really excited to be able to add her final mission certificate. And for Torchlight, we had hit our 18 units that we wanted to do this year. So I did pause us so that we can do the remaining 18 for next year. The last thing I was working on with Emmy in term 6 was Apology of Preschool Science, and we did not finish that, but I did not expect that we would. For Alani, I have a checklist for all of the curricula that we use, and I check off to just see where we are. I didn't do any of that for Emmy. It really just was a go with the flow, see how much we get through, and I'm honestly really happy with how much we did do. All right, but moving on to Alani. So we had finished all of Zern for her as well. So similar to Emmy, I had the little certificates that they would hang up when they had finished a mission. So she also got to hang up all of hers, and they didn't realize that when we finished math, they didn't have any more digital lessons on Zern, and they were just both like, wait, we don't get to do this anymore? They have loved Zern. I do the teacher guide. I go through all the lessons teaching them, and then they get the digital lesson where they get their independent practice time, and they absolutely love it. So they were actually both a little disappointed that they were finished that part of math. We were also using core knowledge, history, and geography, and the 2 units that I focused on for the end of our year were immigration and citizenship, as well as civil rights leaders. And so we got both of those done in term 6, and Alani really enjoyed it. Sometimes she says math is her favorite, but usually she does say that history and geography is her favorite subject. Alani also completed Simplify Writing in term 6, and the last thing was a creative narrative, which I knew she would really enjoy. Alani loves writing stories on her own all the time. There's just little pieces of paper everywhere of stories that she's starting. So this was a really good one for her. Now, I will say the example story or sample story was on a farm, and Alani had a hard time just like jumping out of that. She could have done anything she wanted for her story, but she ended up setting her story on a farm as well with a farmer. Her story is completely different than the sample one, but I did tell her she could write about anything, and she still stuck with that. So on the pages, there was an area to write as well as an area to draw a picture. So again, she had a lot of fun with this, and we are completely done. We didn't do every unit in Simplify Writing, which I'll talk about in my full year review, but this was a great one to end the year with. And then since I'm on the topic of language arts, she had finished Explode the Code 5, so we started working in Explode the Code 6, but we didn't get very far into that. This is something that we might continue doing, or we might just save it for the next school year. And the reason I say we might continue and we might not is that we did not finish Wand. Alani wrapped up term 6 with the Curious George story, and that was the furthest we got. There still are 2 more stories within the Wand curriculum, which means she does have about 4 more weeks of work within that specific curriculum. Now, as we get closer to finishing Wand, there was a lot more review. So it started being a little less of introducing completely new skills and a little more of really reviewing the skills that were introduced throughout the year, as well as what she had learned in Pinwheels already. So though term 6 ramped up, I would say, in the amount of work that she was doing in Wand, since some of it was review, it wasn't a lot of load. Anything that we will be continuing though, I will update you guys in my summer video. My girls actually have a pretty busy summer and a very exciting summer ahead of them. I'm a little jealous, but they are gonna have a lot of fun. But I would say term 6 went really well. I did make one not big mistake, but a definite mistake. And it was counting our days. And I don't know how I messed that up because I have so many things. Like I have this page that I'm checking off the days, which is right in my planner. And I also have this that I've been filling out. And somehow, I don't know what happened toward the end of the term, my brain turned our 180 days into 190. So instead of counting and trying to make sure we hit our 180 days, I think I started trying to reach 190 because when I reached our last day of school, we were actually at 188 days. And I went back and I kept checking to be like, what did I just do? And that's what I think it was. I think something just switched in my brain and I thought we were going for 190 instead of 180. So technically we did an extra week that we didn't need to do, but it all worked out. And the way I plan the end of our year, I try to end it with our big family trip. And so we ended up taking a big family trip to Avalon. So as a family, and I mean like 20 plus people. So as a family, we take a trip to the shore. And before that, we actually took the girls to Storybook Land. We've taken the girls to Storybook Land for a few years now, and it has always been a really good time. And they are really getting at an age where this like kids amusement park is going to start being too kiddie. So we really wanted to make sure that we took them again this year. So we tried to stay in a hotel that was like somewhat nearby. And we also wanted to make sure the hotel had an indoor pool. And so the girls had a good old time in the pool. The next day we went to Storybook Land. It actually was pretty terrible weather for the entire Memorial Day weekend, but we made the best of it. It worked out that the worst of the weather was never while we had anything planned outdoors. So that just was perfect. Storybook Land was a little chilly, but we were dry and that's all that mattered. And honestly, I'll take bundling up a little bit and it being a little chilly over being in an open amusement park and being beat down by the sun any day. But from there, we joined the family and had a really great time. So we didn't have like an end of the year party or anything like that because this big vacation is basically that. That is really it though, outside of like sports and activities. My girls finished up rock climbing. They had started a homeschool soccer, which has been going really well. They're continuing tennis, and Emmy actually will be starting a soccer that is just for her. I'm just so excited how term 6 went and the end of our school year. I've just been really happy with how everything worked out. Again, I'll have that full year video up soon, as well as our summer plans. But if you're like me and you don't homeschool year round technically, I hope that you had or have a fantastic end of your school year as well. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them in the comments section. And thank you so much for your continued support on my channel. I will see you in the next video. Bye.